Welcome back to the SEO Weekly, where queries are weird, advice is controversial, and everything depends. I'm your host, Garrett Sussman of iPullrank Agency, and every week I cover everything that's going on in the world of SEO. We're talking Google updates, blogs, videos, tools, resources, communities, you name it, I got it. If you are into this stuff, please subscribe to the channel, give me a like, leave me a comment, let me know how everything's going. Last week, everyone let me know about the music and we turned it down, so hopefully you can hear me clearly. Well, the helpful content update is rolling out and we've got part two. You got a deep dive because last Thursday, Google officially announced that they were rolling it out, and now we all sit and wait. Tick tock, tick tock. And who knows? It's gonna take 2 weeks, and it's gonna be hard to attribute what specifically is going on with the update. Marie Haynes on Friday morning was like, still waiting. So here we are on Monday. It was recorded on Friday, so who knows what happened over the weekend. But one thing that I can confidently say, which is hilarious, is there's a lot of content out there about the helpful content update, this take included. SEOs from all walks of life are giving their 2 cents, and Lily Ray said it best. She's like, I'm just gonna come out and say it. The amount of low quality content that has, 1, been published about the helpful content update, and 2, is ranking in prominent positions on Google for that keyword is laughable and ironic in an Alanis Morissette sort of way. No, it is actually kind of ironic, but it's going to keep coming. It's all we're going to be talking about for a while, especially if it's as meaningful as implied, saying, 5, 10, 11% of SERPs being flipped on their heads. Now, if you run into a situation where you're having, a specific SERP look ugly as hell and it's not any better, John Mueller actually put out the August 2022 helpful content update feedback form. You can find the link in the description, so you can actually give your 2 cents on specific URLs and queries and results and let the search team know what's going on there. Also, Dave Snyder he actually put together a really cool, helpfulcontent.com page where he's going to be keeping up the updates powered by CopyPress. But he's also, started kind of gathering that canary in the coal mine for the update. So taking screenshots left and right of the SERP results, especially like really bad SERP results, so we can see if they're actually changing, if they're actually improving, that sort of thing. Now, this came out prior to last week, but I thought it was worth addressing as well, is Aleda Solis put out a ton of useful, helpful content. She has a spreadsheet that you can use. You can make a copy for yourself, and it basically lists out all the different types of questions that the helpful content update is trying to address, so you can use it for your own content. Super useful. It's free. It's available. You can find the link in the comments in the description, as well as a really nifty flowchart. So kind of going through your content and debating on how you need to update it, whether or not to delete it. It's funny, one of the criticisms I've heard from SEOs providing feedback or advice on how to handle this is all around deleting unhelpful content. And that might not be the most useful strategy. In fact, last year, 2021, around October, Lyndon Nelson Allen put out this really great Twitter thread that surfaced, which kind of highlights, do not just delete content for SEO. It can actually hurt your site because there are so many factors when you just remove content that you might not be aware of. And he actually breaks it down because Google, this helpful content update, for instance, is a site-wide signal. It's not just URL by URL. So something like deleting a specific page could remove some internal links that had value, inbound links, external links, non-SEO traffic could have value to other aspects of your organization. So you should content audit and go through everything, improve if you have found that, some of this content is, has nothing on it, is really just garbage, gobbledygook, it isn't linking to anything, no one's visiting it, then maybe at that point you consider pruning it. And it is a worthwhile strategy. We've talked about like cannibalization or opportunities to, kind of merge specific types of content. Myself and Kyle Marino actually talked about it a few months ago in our content rebalancing webinar. I'll have the link to the description for that one, where we go through that process as well that you can check out. But there is a lot of advice on Twitter, on the internet. Some of the good ones too that caught my attention that I really appreciated, wanted to call out, was Ross Simmons talked all about how to ensure that your content is always helpful. So in his thread, he kind of breaks down how, each quarter you should audit your content, especially, your high performing pieces, but really all of your pieces, and start, including new takeaways, adding third-party quotes, including new research, or uploading video content, especially with mom, using different types of media could potentially help your content rank better and become more helpful for people who prefer those mediums. Incorporate templates, add new sections, update the date, update old data, refresh the imagery, all really useful things. Talk to, subject matter experts and get their feedback and have them contribute. Improving the actual content ultimately is going to help the content and make it more helpful content update. Kevin Indig gave a bunch of do's and don'ts when analyzing your site. So this is more about when it's rolling out over the next 2 weeks and over the next few months. If you see some massive fluctuations across the traffic of your site, you want to take some things into consideration before just, going haywire with, pruning your content. For instance, thinking about seasonality, looking at potential user intent shifts. So if you're going to a query and through this update, some content is devalued, but what Google is doing is they're actually getting a better sense of what the search intent for that query is, naturally, you're going to see different content rank. So evaluate that. Don't draw conclusions when the updates are still rolling out. Don't go with your first, assumptions, and don't panic if your site dips. You got to be patient. I know you might have executives breathing down your neck when it comes to traffic, and sometimes Google does get it wrong, but you don't want to make a rash decision that will ultimately be the wrong decision in terms of the long game. So much more that's going to come out over the helpful content update over the next few weeks. We're really not going to have a sense of what is going on, who's being targeted until the dust settles. What's your impact been? I'd love to hear in the notes if you are seeing volatility in the SERPs or your specific site and what you're doing about it. What recommendations do you have? Okay, let's move on. So after the helpful content kind of slipped under the radar, but a big deal is on Google Search Console, they have removed the international targeting report. It's been deprecated. And for anyone who works with like an international website, it's potentially problematic to be able to trace the errors that you might run into with the hreflang meta tag, which is a big deal. So if you're, worrying about your language, you're using multi-language on your website, or you're dealing with different regions of your website, hreflang can get really complicated. In fact, Patrick Stocks of Ahrefs shared this awesome Twitter thread where he went through all the potential errors that you can run into with hreflang. He's been writing about it for years. He provides a ton of other really great resources. And so now on Google Search Console, you will not be able to actually get notifications when you have an hreflang error, which could, really devalue the ranking of your site in specific geographies. It's okay though. Well, maybe it's okay. Dave Smart on his Tame the Bots website actually put together hreflang tools kind of aggregation, and it includes, crawlers like Screaming Frog and Sitebulb and Deep Crawl, or like monitoring tools like Contentcom. Check out that site if you need a solution to be able to monitor and crawl for any of your hreflang implementation potential errors. Dave Smart does a great job of like including and giving the pros and cons for each of those. And then on Google's YouTube channel, software engineer Ryan Levering did this really awesome lightning talk all about structured data. If you're a web developer or tech SEO, or even just an SEO who's aware of the importance of structured data when it comes to enhancing your SERPs and providing more information to Google, Ryan breaks down all the different types, how to get started, best practices for adding it, making sure that you're checking your WordPress plugins if you use WordPress, that it includes structured data, dealing with errors, all of that jazz. Really great video. I love that Google does this on their YouTube and provides these best practices, but obviously a lot of Google news coming up 2 weeks in a row. Moving on. There is so much going on in SEO Twitter. It really becomes overwhelming. If you ever want to follow a great list of SEO Twitters, I have one on my own profile. I'll include the links in the description for that. But this week, Cyrus Shepard had a great Twitter thread all about the Search Console's crawl stats report. Basically, if you don't have access to the logs, it's improved significantly over the years. And one of the things that he pointed out that you can do is for any sort of like 301 redirects or 404 errors that Googlebot encounters, you can export that data and then turn it into a pivot table so you can prioritize where Google is really trying to check over and over again and keeps getting these errors, prioritize those fixes and potentially improve your rankings when you have those 404s redirected properly. That pretty hilarious thread, but Lydia Infante has been not trolling, but like finding herself caught up in SEO TikTok, and there's a lot of crap. So you'll see a lot of gurus and ninjas and self-proclaimed experts giving really bad advice on SEO TikTok. SEO Twitter, has its issues as well, but the SEO community had a good laugh at some of the unhelpful, awful content on SEO TikTok. And then the final Twitter thread I thought was really cool was Christina Azarenko, who's been in tech SEO for a long, long time. She's been crushing it. She has a course, but she wrote about 7 things that she wishes that she understood earlier as a technical SEO. For instance, there's rarely one clear answer. If you work in any sort of dev, getting from point A to point B, sometimes there are better answers, but ultimately it's about solving that specific problem. So you can't ask developers about best practices related to SEO. A lot of developers don't necessarily think about SEO in the same way that we do. So you have to kind of inform them or, find a developer who is an expert in SEO. She learned that you don't need to have a development background to be a good technical SEO. Learning can be easier, that you can kind of deep dive into it and learn for yourself. Not everything needs to be fixed. It's all about prioritization that comes up week after week in the SEO Weekly from all the great content that's produced. Prioritization does matter, making sure that you focus on what's the most important thing that's going to move the needle, and it can be lonely. If you're the one on the team doing SEO and you're responsible for the whole strategy, including technical SEO, you don't really always have ideas to bounce off of other people. So I love me some SEO Twitter. There's so much great content on there. If you ever do see an SEO Twitter thread that you're like, bam, Garrett, you've got to include that in the SEO Weekly, please send it my way. I love that stuff. I love it. Okay, so in terms of general SEO, a great article this week by Siquan Ong of Ahrefs. It was all about how long does SEO take to show results. So he actually reached out on Twitter and LinkedIn, put a poll out there and asked, 4,300 different people like what they think. Not the most scientific, but interesting nonetheless. And 45% of people think it takes only 3 to 6 months. There's this myth in the world of SEO or just in general marketing that it takes forever to rank and to get your content up there. Actually, our own Mike King did a rank and file video. You'll see the link in the description back in 2020 saying that no, the technology allows you to rank more quickly. The problem is a lot of organizations either don't have the resources or take so long getting the content up there, published and available to be indexed that people think it takes way longer than 6 months. So for this one, Sequanong, he basically broke down some of the reasons that it might take longer. So whether you have a newer site versus an older site in terms of that kind of like authority and establishment in terms of, you have that credibility that you'll rank more quickly. The competition, obviously, the more competitive a keyword is, the harder it's going to take to rank, because all those other competitors are doing a lot of SEO as well. They're doing those best practices. So you can't just like get up there immediately because you publish something. Certain amount of resources, as I mentioned, what your strategy is, and then ultimately your execution. All those factors will determine whether or not you are going to rank and how long it'll take. The key here is that there's no arbitrary number of, it's going to take you, X number of months before you can rank. There's just all these it depend factors that determine why you may or may not rank quickly. New podcast alert, and I am stoked. I already listened to episode 1 of this, and it's great. So Morty Oberstein and Crystal Carter of Wix have a brand new podcast called the SERPs Up SEO podcast. And what they do is they're picking different topics. They're highlighting SEO tools. They're giving actual best practices. This first episode was all about homepage SEO. Homepages are a little tricky for SEOs because you want to tie it to a keyword, but a lot of times it's much more tied to brand SERPs and your core web vitals for ranking. They actually brought on Ryan Jones, an SEO consultant, to talk about common missteps. It's fun. They're hilarious. They got great energy together. I got to be on there. Morty, Crystal, have me. I want to shoot the shit with y'all on the SEO SERPs Up podcast. But check it out. Great listen. And then Miriam Ellis of Moz did a great Where Can You Go to Learn Local SEO? I say it every week. I love local SEO from my background. There are a ton of great resources out there, whether it's some of the paid certification like Moz Academy's Local SEO or Brighton SEO's Local SEO on Demand with Greg Gifford. Local U has some great resources. Danny Owens's Pegzilla has like a private local SEO training community. And then there are a lot of free resources as well, whether it's, Greg Sterling and Mike Blumenthal and David Mim doing Near Media. There's Moz's own Miriam, obviously posts great articles on Moz constantly for local SEO. Darren Shaw does a lot with Whitespark. Local U has events, and Street Fight is a great magazine that has great articles. So tons of local SEO content and ways to learn it out there. I love this article by Miriam. She kind of really points you in the right direction. When it comes to technical SEO, Aleda Solis, again, had an awesome Crawling Mondays YouTube episode. She talked to Tomek Rudzki of Onely and Olga Zarzeczna of SEO Sly, all about JavaScript SEO. We've talked about that a lot here on iPullrank, but they went through addressing some common questions all about, what Google can render and not render when it comes to JavaScript, how to optimize, and avoid specific issues for JavaScript SEO, and some of their favorite tools. Great interview, great conversation there, all about JavaScript SEO. And then on the iPullrank blog this week, Danielle Antos posted about preventing metadata from sabotaging your visibility. So if you work with robot.txt files, meta titles, meta descriptions, all of those, like the meta titles and the robot can really mess with you. Can you imagine telling Google to de-index your entire website like Moz did in 2019? Yeah, robot.txt is serious business. And meta titles, yes, Google does, rewrite a lot of them, but you have a lot of control and it will significantly impact, where you rank. And then meta descriptions, while that actually doesn't impact where you rank, it does impact whether people are going to actually click on your link and go to your website. So great deep dive there. Highly recommend, if you do anything under the hood when it comes to metadata, that you check out this article by Danielle. And then finally, when it comes to Rankable, there was an awesome episode that I hosted. I interviewed Dr. Rachel Tatman. She is a linguistic educator, and we kind of addressed NLP and machine learning and language technology and how it relates to SEO. It feels extra relevant now because we talked a little bit about natural language generation and AI content, which, in relation to the helpful content update, Google indicates that they are going to target automated content. And so Dr. Tapman talked all about why it's problematic to use raw AI content and what you can do about it. She gave some of her predictions when it comes to the future of search and linguistic language technology. It's a gritty technical conversation, but I loved it. So much fun. And coming up on Wednesday, I am stoked. One of my favorite SEOs in the world, Arija Wali, is joining me to talk all about in-house SEO. She dropped some really great insights in terms of relationship building and helping others in your organization so they help you, how to get things done, how to get a seat at the table, how to prioritize in-house, and some of the unique challenges that she faces. Keep your eyes peeled for that episode of Rankable with Arij. It's awesome. It's awesome. Thank you all. That's it for another episode of the SEO Weekly. My name is Garrett Sussman of iPullrank. As I mentioned at the beginning, if you love this stuff, if you're into it, if you geek out like I do, please subscribe to the channel, give us a like, leave a comment, let me know what you're thinking about the helpful content update. Is it helpful? Is it not helpful? And I hope you have a great rest of your week. I will see you next Tuesday because it's Labor Day weekend here in the US, but we'll be back on Tuesday. Don't you worry. Otherwise, hit me up on the Twitters. You know where to find me. I'll catch you all later.